Hello, I really hope this is working. This avatar is made by Chaotic J, who also made the world that I found this avatar in. The Gunfire Reborn, oh my arms look so weird. The Gunfire Reborn world that we're in right now is made by this person. I put them on screen. Gunfire Reworld, a replica of the Gunfire Reborn world, which is why amazing, because we're gonna talk about the game today, Gunfire Reborn. But wait, this is a shooter game, right? Yes, it is. There's a dime a dozen of those, I know, and I'm sure you have your favorites, but the main reason I wanted to show you this one is that it's actually a really good game. I spent over 100 hours in this game alone, and that's saying a lot, and I'm still enjoying it. I don't know how, but this game just does something right. Hopefully I'm going to sell you on that, and why you should play it at least once, because it's not that much money, and you're going to get a lot of replay hours out of it, I guarantee you.
On paper, this game seems like Borderlands Light, but a roguelike because it is, but I'd say its brevity is its strength, and using that little bit of time in each run is what makes it so cash money.
Is that still a phrase? How about wizard? Can we go with wizard?
I'll try not to dive into too much detail because this ain't an iceberg video, but you have 6 characters to pick from.
Caustic, Gunzerker, Boot to the Head, I Will Cut You, Pikachu.
They're all pretty much the same except for their particular abilities and potentially how you can build them. We'll get to that, but here's a quick shot of their abilities.
The Crown Prince throws poison grenades, or corrosion in the game, and their ultimate freezes enemies and bosses very briefly while dealing damage when the ult explodes, yeah that.
I wanted to call him Zawardo, but that joke's overplayed. Fight me.
Albai throws regular grenades, but you can actually buff their damage, and he goes into 2-gun Gunzerker mode for his ult, which honestly, I gotta give credit, is better than I thought it was gonna be, so I may not use it much, but it works fine. King Yan slaps you or jump kicks you from a distance, and of course he has to be a special case. It only recharges his shield when he gets crits or smacks you with his wing. You can't recharge your shield automatically like everyone else. Tao shoots a barrage of swords after doing enough damage to enemies, or using her Blossom Grenade if you build that right as well. Think Stored Angst, but then you can just unleash it at will. Lei Luo bounces lightning between enemies and just thunderbolts you. Just outright Pikachu thunderbolts you. He's good for other reasons, but he's mostly for damage to groups and crit. Qian Sui, did I say that name right? I'm sorry if I didn't, will punch you very hard and fast and has a shield which is really, really broken. Also good for other reasons, but he's very good for tanking stuff and high damage up close, which can melt bosses.
There are 4 stages in this game. It's Temple, Desert, Swamp, Mountain, each is broken into some sub-areas, and then there's 2 bosses you can fight, possibly 1 or 2, of 2, at the end of each section.
Except for the last area where you will fight the bear boss. He's hard enough. He's hot, but hard.
Don't quote me on that.
This game has a bunch of guns you can find and enemies to kill with a fairly good variety. There's a reason I mentioned Borderlands as a comparison, if I didn't, I'm mentioning it now, because like all of the bajillions of guns from Borderlands, but think that, but just kind of diet version. But you also find random scrolls to use for each run of the game. Every time you begin the game again, your character begins with 0 scrolls or 0 skills, and you have to build them up each time. There are random scrolls scattered in treasure chests and some boss fights. The list of scrolls and their effects are pretty long, but you got things like Ammo Belt, which doubles your ammo capacity, or Fish or Bear Paw, where you do half damage but hit twice. 2.
Reducing your health to 1 HP while just doubling your shield. Who does that? It's a horrible...
You never know which one you get, and each scroll is active when you pick it up. So, or listen to you sell it or drop it. Some you can't sell or get rid of, but it makes each run unique and different, and you have to plan accordingly, so it's never quite stale. On the note of guns, among the larger selection in the game, try as many as you can get your paws or wings on. Find your style and see what works. For my money, here's the guns I recommend and don't recommend. No. Best gun in the game. Backshots, good stuff. The crossbow with push. The bullets make you bleed. You can throw better, but fine. Not worth. Can be broken with the right stats, just gotta be lucky. Hell, yes. You also find unique scrolls, or ascensions, at the end of each level that is specific to your character. It's like your miniature skill tree that you rebuild each new run along with the random scrolls. And there's no real wrong way to do it. You'll find 3 at the end of each stage, so peruse at your leisure. Not to mention the literal skill tree that each character has you level with a separate currency you earn.
Did I mention this game is more complicated than it looks?
But rest assured, it all blends together in a wonderful and simple experience that is intuitive and fresh each time. And as I said, there is no wrong way to play this game or a wrong way to do each run.
But there is a right way to do it. Here's some brief recommendations.
Crown Prince should be using elemental damage and poison or corrosion to their advantage. Focus on increasing their poison damage while making the orb ultimate either explode more or recharge faster. Here are some scrolls to recommend, these scrolls here. Albai needs bigger and more grenades. I know his ult is situational and useful, but just focus more on their grenade damage and amount and buffing general weapon damage. Use launchers and big guns. Bird Boy needs to focus on leap or kick damage while upping his slap damage. He's kind of versatile and doesn't have much needed power-ups except for the one that
gives you free bullets every time you reload. Get this at all costs.
Otherwise, aim for wing slaps, kicks, and close range damage. This guy actually uses swords pretty well, so, I mean, if you want to use swords, go for it. Also these scrolls here. Tao is also kind of a close-range, mid-range skirmisher, but focus on her flying swords ability. Beef up your blossom grenade damage and make it summon flying swords on hit. Also focus on power-ups that boost your flying sword damage. Basically, the more swords you can trigger, the better, and they stack damage on one of the scrolls. Try to aim for these. For the Lightning Tiger, get these right here. I don't care what else you pick, these are required.
Lightning Strike makes your headshots bounce lightning onto enemies to give you free extra damage and maybe crit damage. How cool is that?
He's a sniper. Build him like one. You can also use him as a sort of area of effect shaman, so you can technically use him as a skirmisher too, but try to aim for sniper. Turtle punch hard, so make him punch harder. Focus on ones that reflect damage using the shield while raising the punch damage and amounts of punch per punch. It makes sense in game, I promise. Also, the faster you can get your shield back up, the better and more life-saving. The bosses also have unique mechanics, and each one has certain either weak points or certain strategies you have to adapt to. The sand boss, the griffin, or the sand god being one I absolutely am tired of, but once you figure him out, just keep moving, it's fine.
A note on the soundtrack as well. It's not the most complicated soundtrack in the way. It's a nice kind of fluty orchestral thing while also having nice sound effects from the wind and stuff, which is a nice balance, I gotta say. They don't overpower each other there. The graphics, pretty good. They're not the most complicated either, but you get the idea of what the enemy is at a glance. You get what each item is at a glance. It's colorful enough that you know what it is, contrasty enough, but not overwhelming to your eyes. And nothing really blends together even after, again, so many 100 hours of gameplay. So it's really good. Overall, I gotta say, it's just a good game. It's a good de-stressor, just a good time filler as well. You can come back to it when you want to chill or just play some not-so-committed multiplayer arcade shooter fun. Doesn't really get stale. I'll admit, I hope they add another character or area, but as it stands, a solid 9 out of 10. It's worth the price I paid, well worth it, and I encourage you to play it if you haven't at least once. Get your friends with some random Steam players together, or just watch Worst Pre-Made Ever. That channel is a good example of some excellent humor. Thank you all for joining me. Have a good day or night or whatever, and I'll see you next time. Dramatic pose.